It's 3 minutes to. It's 3 minutes. We're 3 minutes early, but that's okay, isn't it? Pretty much, right? That's gonna be okay. Ah, there we go. Like that. I like that. Right? That light in the background is everything. Say that. The light in the background is everything. Let's see if you can see me over here. Might need to position you a little bit different. I see what your problem is. That way. I don't know why I fight with the cameras. I really don't know why. I don't know why it's such a big deal. Some mornings it works perfectly, and then another morning, I don't know what happened here. Did something happen here? I don't know. Because it was perfect yesterday, wasn't it? Worked perfectly. Didn't need to situate or do anything. So what happened this morning? I didn't do anything different, right? I was just myself. So I want to see how I look. Just that's all. I'm just trying to see if it's done right. And everybody has an issue with that. Gosh, come on. Oh, goodness. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. Wanna do one? Wanna do one? Wanna do one? Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. We're just gonna pray and thank God for the space that we're in, and just thank God for this space. Okay. Hey everybody, how's it going? Thanks for joining us. And we're live. Good morning. We're just gonna thanks for joining us. It's a great day to be alive. It's a great day uh to do something. Uh Thank you so much for being a part of our experience today. And so much so that we're so grateful that you've chosen to join us. Thanks so much. And I just want to say to those of you who are ever having issues with the live feed, always switch over to youtube.com. That has a more stable platform than Facebook and Twitter and Periscope. YouTube's platform does not waver, it doesn't go out, it doesn't do any of those things. But Facebook and Twitter somehow seem to get going. For instance, I was on Facebook, had a preview page going up, it seemed fine, and then all of a sudden, it's gone. Right? All of a sudden, it's gone. So, whatever, whatever, that's Facebook for you. No wonder they have issues. Facebook seems to, I don't know, it just seems to be iffy nowadays. Who knows what's going on, right? So, today is Tuesday. And I wanted to talk about, have you ever wondered about people who have all opportunities but just can't seem to get it together or just can't seem to get it out? Well, today we're going to talk about that. And I wanted to talk about, especially for young people who can go to college but refuse to go to college. And when an adult tries to intervene, they develop an attitude, right? And I want to put it into context. You don't want to miss this. You want to hear this because I'm going to put it into context. And it might just shock some of us into doing something because we're not looking at the big picture, right? So give me a few minutes here as I set up my Facebook feed so that we can get others to join in, right? So it occurred to me this morning because we were talking, my children and I were talking. It actually wasn't what I was going to talk about, if you want to know the truth, right? And my children and I were talking about about some folks we know. And why is it that some people are belligerent? It's kind of a lead up to what happened in the drive-through since Friday, right? And since over the weekend. So so I wanted to start it because what I found was, since what happened to, it kind of ignited a conversation where people are like, well, what's going on? I asked my children this question over and over. So you don't want to miss this. I want you to kind of see this and to hear it, because I feel like it's something we all need to hear, or it's something we need to talk about, right? I want to talk about the weather. It's the Midwest and it's freaky. So by Thursday morning, we're supposed to have, are you going to believe this? By Thursday morning, we're supposed to have snow. I don't believe that either. So there's this weather system coming out of the Rockies that is moving across the country. I don't believe it. Yesterday it was 70 degrees. I was wearing flip-flops, y'all. I had on my summer sandals. In fact, yesterday I packed away boots. Yes, I did. I packed away all the boots, and today I plan to pick up the coats. You know how you have the coats hanging for easy access? I was going to pick them out, put them in the coat closet, those that need to be cleaned, separate them, clean them, whatever, hang them off. Are you all laughing at me? I was ready to do that. And then, boom, I read the weather report and it says we are going to have a weather event this week. This maybe possibly snow. It's going to feel and look like snow. So there's going to be a little accumulation somewhere. Upper Michigan is probably going to get the brunt of it in terms of the state, more so than we will be in the southern part of the state, because Detroit is in the southeastern corner of Michigan, right? We're closer to Ontario, Canada, right? Oh, I'm like, oh, can spring just come and stay? And just yesterday, chilling like a villain, just driving down the street. That's what my children say. So I was just, I just like, wow, the weather. I didn't have to wear a top or anything. Right. And this morning, like Free Central. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. Don't you agree? Just crazy stuff. Just crazy stuff. I don't know. It's just the freakiest thing ever. And it's like the 9th of April. So by the end of the week, Monday, I think, will be the 15th of April, right? So if you haven't done your taxes yet, time to get started. You need to get your taxes together. I think they might try to extend the deadline this year, simply to accommodate all the confusion in the tax codes that created a debacle for most of us, because tax codes became very confusing this year. You didn't know what was going on, what you're claiming, what you don't, based on the new guidelines. So if you haven't done your taxes yet, now is probably a good time to start, because the 15th will soon be here, right? And today is the 9th, so 7 days from now will be the 16th. Unbelievable. The stuff that happens. So overnight, the Texas Tech were defeated. Yeah! Because they defeated my team, Michigan State Spartans. You can't do that to Sparty country, man. They defeated the Spartans and then went on to lose to Virginia anyway. Like, seriously? I was like, I started watching the game, and by the time it got to halftime, I was over it. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go to bed. I'll catch it on the news feed, because I could see where that game was going. And it was not in favor. Not that I was rooting for Texas Tech. I kind of had an issue with them because they killed my Sparty, right? I love the Spartans. I love Michigan State Spartans. And I was just like so down, and it was over, right? So I was like, I went to bed, and it was a pretty exciting game, wasn't it? It had high energy, right? And it was just going and going, and it felt really, you could feel the rush. And I was like, okay, so that's over. So now back to basketball. So not a fan until it gets to June when it's about time for the championship. That's when I really start watching basketball. Other than that, I'm like, but you know what my daughter says? My daughter says, my daughter has this running joke. My youngest daughter, she's a riot, right? She says that pretty boys play basketball and the other boys play football. Oh my gosh. I'm like, that's so discriminatory. And she's like, yes, mom, the boys who play basketball are tall, they're good looking, and they're pretty, so they can't get hurt. That's why you don't hear of them having fractures or she says they don't get head injuries. They can't afford to do that because they're pretty boys. Oh my golly. And I'm like, those really tall human beings, you're calling them pretty boys. So it's crazy. It's crazy how kids think. So she's like at her school is a football high school, right? They do they're into football. It's a good school and it has a fairly decent sports program. They're more concentrated on academics though. But the students who go there, they do play some sort of ball, either basketball or football. And they get recruited because their grades are usually good too. So she's like at her school, what she noticed, she said she noticed that it's cool. So she started asking around and she was told that. I was just like done. I was so done when she said that. I was like, you need to quit. I was like, you need to quit. So, so it's just crazy how kids observe stuff and how stuff just comes out at you. So it's summertime, right? So I'm wearing my scarves over because my arms are bare. See, my arms are bare, right? Because I'm beginning to feel that. So here's the joke. So this morning, right? I'm like, okay, it's still going to be in the 60s. I can still do this. So I step out of my house without putting to go get the garbage can that was out overnight. Yeah. So I stepped out to go get the trash can and I had on, like a jogging suit top that's not, it's not like a fluffy one or a fleecy one, right? Because I want to be cute. So I'm wearing athleisure wear. That's what I wear most days. I'm wearing yoga pants, the ones with the see-through panels, right? Because it's summer. So I'm like, well, if they say it's going to be 60s, you might want to cover your legs a little bit. So at least we can still be cute. Okay. So I stepped out of my house. And when I stepped out, there was a wind, I swear. And when the wind rolled over me, when it just kind of hit me and landed, I was like, oh, I'm chilly. Maybe I should go back and grab a jacket. No, I said, no, you're not. No, you're going to tough this one out. So I drove all the way downtown just in that. So on my way back, I'm like, I had to turn the heat on in the car because I'm like, it's kind of nippy. And it wouldn't go away, right? So then when I got home, I'm like, did I turn the furnace off? Because, there's a certain time of the year when you do turn your furnace off. And I was like, here in Michigan, they call it the furnace, the heat, right? The heat for other parts of the country, right? So the same mechanism delivers heat in the winter and delivers cold air in the summer. I don't know how it works, but it just works. I don't care. It just works. Flip the switch is all I care about. Right? I don't care for the explanation. You call a workman over and he wants to give you an explanation as if that's going to help you. No, and this is you standing there trying to be polite. Huh? Okay. Okay. All right. Because you're like, I don't really care for your explanation. That's your job. I don't really want to get into your job. I just want you to fix it. Does it work? Will it work? If it doesn't work, can I call you back? And I'm done. Oh, like you know what I mean? It's what my daughter calls it mansplaining. She says that when it's like when I have an issue with a car or something, I'm kind of like the person who does the research before. So by the time I come to you with a problem, I have a pretty good idea what the problem is. I just need your expertise to fix it. And hopefully your idea of what is wrong is what I think it is. If not, I'm going to go with what you say because you're supposedly the expert. What happens is they like to mansplain. They like to tell you and break it down as if a 5-year-old can, okay. And then they look at you like, oh, it's talking to you like you're a 5-year-old. And you're standing there like, if you don't shut up, you are about to get told off. And it's just the craziest thing. They do it across the board. So I'm like, this is why sometimes I'm like, somebody else deal with this. I don't have the time for this because I'm not going through this dehumanizing moment of mansplaining. I'm going to talk about that one day. And you guys need to help all of us women understand, why do men feel the need to mansplain all the time? I swear, I'm making a note of it because I'm going to talk about it. You want to bet? One of these days, I'm going to talk about mansplaining and talking to women as if we're 5-year-olds, like we don't have the capacity to comprehend what you're saying. Yes, you might be an expert in the field of mechanics and car management. You didn't manufacture it or engineer it, but you understand how it works. But you can still give me the basic idea. We have the capacity to understand. It's just the craziest thing. It's like you call the electrician or the plumber, and when they come over, right, and they start, they feel they have to diminish you and bring you down. What is with this thing of diminishing people in order to carry out an idea? What's with that? I don't get that. But anyway, that's beside the point, right? I want to talk today about people who don't want to get up or who can't seem to get up. This is going to be terrific for you. And if you know someone who perhaps needs to hear this, text them, call them, tell them to tune in, because I feel that there comes a point in time when everybody needs to be told, you need to get up off your Holy Ghost and get moving, right? Because sometimes it takes tough love to get some folks going. Recently, I had an encounter with a young lady who didn't go to college. So she's working as a server. And whilst that is a good thing, she was too young for not, at first I assumed she was too young for this to be a career for her, right? And I'm not casting aspersions on it. Just stay with me and follow where I'm going. So she's pregnant, and I didn't see a wedding ring, but I wasn't going to comment on it. But you know how it is when you go into a restaurant and people are serving you, you develop a rapport with your server, right? So you ask questions. So she was pregnant. So I was like, when are you due? And she explained that, when she's due like some months ahead, like she's like 4 months, she has 4 months left or something like that. But she's very tiny. She's skinny. So it was, at first, I didn't want to offend anybody because I wasn't sure if it was a pregnancy or if she had just gained weight in the wrong place, right? So I didn't want to say anything. But I was looking at her and then I smiled. And then she said, yes, it's a pregnancy and I'm due. I'm just really skinny. So it's somewhere where I go to. So after a while, we developed a relationship. We started talking. And I always want to know how you end up here. So I was listening. So I'm talking to her, and I found out that she's 21. This is her first child, and her boyfriend is incarcerated because he owes outstanding speeding tickets, parking tickets, something like that, speeding or parking tickets, to the tune of thousands of dollars, which shocked me because I didn't know that you could rack up tickets to that much. I don't know how that happens. I'm terrified of getting a ticket because I'm going to have to pay up money I don't want to. I think it comes with being older. As you get older, you don't want to spend unnecessary money, especially on tickets. So that accounts for why you see most of us in our 50s. It's not that we can't drive, young people. Trust me, we can put pedal to the metal and show you a thing or two. I grew up driving on dirt roads with a stick shift. So and around hairpin bends that over 5,000 feet, coming from 5,000 feet above sea level to go down to 100 feet, you can well imagine how this works. So if you're on Facebook and if you can still hear me, just stick with me. I don't know what Facebook is doing. This just completely went crazy just now. But so what happens is I was listening to her talk about how she managed to end up in the situation that she's in, right? And I was a little bit taken aback because for the life of me, I couldn't understand It's not that I couldn't understand. I found it impregnable to believe that you could actually allow you had an opportunity and you let the opportunity slip by. So often what we hear or experience is that people don't get the opportunity that they deserve. So it's very unusual when people do get the opportunity that they deserve or they don't want it, right? It's very unusual to hear that. So I was frankly taken aback, and so I tried to figure out what was going on, right? And so we continue to figure out. I'm having technical issues for whatever. My Facebook feed is where the problem is, as usual. As usual, Facebook always the issue. Can you believe this? Facebook is the issue. So anyway, so I was talking to her, and it became apparent to me that she has issues. It became apparent that, number one, as I was telling you her story, she was pregnant, unmarried. Being married is not the issue. She was just pregnant and 21. So I said, what happened to did you have you dropped out of college or what happened? No, she hadn't even gone to college. She had spent the last several years trying to get it together at 21, because when she was 17, she was caught up. She was in a car and got arrested for drug possession. And I was like, drug possession at 17? Why would you listen to these stories and you are kind of like, what happened here, right? So I was kind of trying to figure out what it was that happened here. And for the life of me, honestly, I'm listening to her story and my mind is running 100 miles a minute. And I'm trying to figure out what happened. So I'm looking at her life experience to determine if something had happened. No, she wasn't abused. Her parents are in the home, both parents, right? So I'm trying to eliminate what could have caused her to land in this place. Her parents were married to each other. To both parents to live at home. She was not abused. She was not molested. They didn't put her out. Her parents just wanted the best for her. They insisted that while she was in school, not to hang out with certain friends. This is coming out of her mouth. They didn't want her to hang out with certain friends. They didn't want her to do drugs. They didn't want her to, they wanted her to keep her grades up so she could get into college. That's where the disconnect happened. She determined that she was going to hang with the wrong crowd, ended up spending in jail. And because of that, her life just became a downward spiral. So here she's at 21. Found themselves homeless because they got displaced out of their apartment because the boyfriend ended up going to jail. This is a true story. The boyfriend ended up going to jail because he got caught on those outstanding speeding and parking tickets. So here she is, 5 to 6 months pregnant, working as a server, tired as you would believe, but have to work in order to be able to live where she's living. So that's a story. So I listened to the story and immediately your mind is running cross currents because I'm like, there's some things you can do. There's some things you can't do. And while I'm listening to her talk, it occurred to me a number of things. The first question I want to ask is, what happened to you? But I don't know her well enough, so I can't. And the second question is, what do you do when you have all the opportunities, but you just couldn't seem to get it? Here she was in high school. She didn't have to, in some countries of the world, let's just be real. We in America sometimes forget how blessed we are. Amen? Amen. In some parts of the world, people literally have to go make their own food for them to eat. They have to go kill the cow before they go to school. They have to carry water on their heads, right? They don't have more running water. In a lot of places in the world, there's no supply of clean, fresh water. And yet here you are in America sitting on your Holy Ghost rumpus, and you get an opportunity and you won't take advantage of it. And I'm sitting there, yes, she's young, and you're ready to jump all over me with all these stereotypes about being a Black person and being a person of color. But when I looked at her, I said, she was in high school in a very good school, in a decent school district. Her grades were what her parents were working on improving. So you were an only child, and all they wanted was for you to go to college, and you didn't want to do that. So you chose to go hang with the wrong crowd. And then you end up in a crowd. No, ladies and gentlemen, hear me out. I am one of those persons who don't believe in, I'm not going to put myself in a disadvantageous position, right? So drugs are wrong. You're not going to find drugs on me. You can forget that, right? So you'll never find me driving down the street with marijuana in my car. Why do people do these things to themselves? You're never going to find me driving down the street with an open bottle of beer or wine, because I know the consequences. The consequences are what? If you get pulled over, you're going to be in trouble, right? So what I try to do is to, with all the things that I can't control the fact that I'm an immigrant. I couldn't control the fact that I'm a woman of color. I can't control the fact that I'm female. That I can't control. So what I try to do is to minimize those that I can control. You see what I'm saying? So here's this young lady. She has the opportunity to go to college, and she chose not to. So now she's 21 and pregnant. It's harder now because she doesn't have the resources. But you know what she lacks? The motivation. She lacks the motivation to get up. What do you do when you have all the opportunities? You know someone like that. Many of you want to go and hurt someone right now because you know someone like that. They have been given all the tools, and yet they won't get up and do something. Now, if she had come and said she was an entrepreneur, she's trying to start something in the meantime while she's working towards her goal of doing something, I would be all over it. I would be in her corner. But and it's not for a lack of hope. When you don't have the motivation, I start questioning your ability to want something good for yourself. So often, most of us want good things for people who don't want good things for themselves. Has that happened to you? Yeah, you're nodding your head. You're talking to someone, or you're encouraging someone, or you're pushing someone to get good things for themselves, but they don't want it as badly as you want it for them. Sometimes these are your kids. Sometimes it's your niece, it's your nephew. Sometimes it's your sister, your brother, your cousin, your long lost cousin, your friend, your friend's friend, your friend's children, whatever. And you're trying to get them to be the best version of themselves and pushing them in the right way. Can I just be honest with you? Opportunities abound. It's up to us sometimes to snatch them out of the air. Are they going to come visiting you? No. Opportunity is on a wheel. The wheel turns, and when it's your turn, the opportunity comes, boom, on your door. You grab it, hold it, seize it, and run with it. Because that opportunity may not come back. It's like kids in high school. This is the right moment and the perfect moment. Kids today, right this minute, this day, children today are sitting the SATs, juniors and sophomores all over in Michigan are sitting the SATs today. This is their seize opportunity to get a good SAT score so they can land in a college. Maybe get a scholarship, a full ride scholarship to a university of their choice. My thing is, even if you don't get a full ride, can you just go to college? Because when I listen to young people tell me, well, you're 19, why aren't you in college? Well, college is not for me. And I'm like, then what is for you? Because knowing how the society is, knowing that the society places more value on you if you have a degree, and knowing that the society tends to undervalue you if you don't have a degree, I want you to do what? To have as much value as you can have, right? So when I listen to young people who say, no, college is not for me, it's not the thing for me, I'm looking at you, you're crazy. I'll check you back in 10 years When life hits you, because here's what's going to happen. Life hits you, so they start having children, right? Then you have responsibilities, then you can't get back into college. And then in 10 years, you're working a dead end job that can't even pay your bills. You have just condemned yourself to a lifetime of poverty because you were too stubborn as a teenager and too lazy to get up and study. It is alarming to me how many people have an opportunity. And some of you are looking at me and saying, Harriet, what opportunity? Opportunities abound. Opportunities abound everywhere. Just look for them. Right now, there are programs right here in Wayne County, Michigan, right? There is a program that can get high school seniors, if they maintain a certain grade point average, if they maintain a certain grade point average, they can get into Wayne Community College. If they stay the course, if they get into community college, they can then transfer that, make that into a 4-year degree. Yes, there are barriers. I know. Yes, there are barriers. Poverty is a barrier. Yes, I know some of these kids come from homes where there's no running water, no electricity, there's violence in the home. Those are the prohibitions and the prohibitive factors that prevent that. I'm talking about, even in spite of that, we still have to overcome that. Yes, you still have to rise up. You still have to try. When I go into places and I see people who just had a high school education, didn't go to college, but they're working and they're happy to be working and trying to make it. Yes, those are people who have overcome. The reason I'm saying all of this is because I'm passionate about this. What you're probably feeling is my passion, is because I have learned in life that this society, you're not getting anywhere without a college degree. And especially as a person of color. Recently, about 4 years ago, I had a chat with a woman who had a degree in psychology. She had just turned 45 and she has a degree in psychology, but couldn't get a job. So she ended up getting a job for one of those companies down here. You know which ones I'm talking about? The guy who was redeveloping Detroit, saying he's bringing jobs to Detroit, right? They work 9 to 6 in a closed environment and sometimes have to go in on a Saturday. Most, when they're hired, they're told no Saturdays, but as they work, in order to fulfill their quotas, they have to go in on a Saturday, right? And she said there are no windows, so you can't tell if it's night or day. You can't tell anything. She said it drove her crazy. She almost hit her head against the wall. But she had to do the job. It was the only job she could do, a woman of color. Those are the barriers she had, a woman of color. And ageism caught up with her, right? Notwithstanding that she has a degree in psychology. So yes, there are those barriers. But what about where those barriers don't exist? What about where those don't apply? What do you do? How do you get up? You have to. There's some things in life you have to do. When I came to this country and my ex-husband beat me up, he confiscated my identification documents, right? And not only did he do that, I told myself that I had to do what was necessary for me to survive. Now, I gave myself some ultimatums. I told myself that there were some things that I couldn't do, right? So I told myself there are some things I wouldn't do. I was not going to marry some person I don't like or didn't want to be with. That was not going to happen. I was not going to steal. I was not going to kill. I wasn't going to do. There are some things. I wasn't going to do drugs. I wasn't going to drink. There were some things I locked myself. I told myself, but the one thing I told myself that I had to do was breathe. I told myself I had to live and I had to find a way out of this so this does not happen to me again. Do you see what I'm saying? And I looked around and I'm like, well, what do I have to work with? What is it that I have? No, I wasn't born here, so I didn't have the opportunities like other people do. I thought people were wasting time who had the opportunity and are just sleeping their way through life. Ladies and gentlemen, can I just be honest with you? We need to encourage our brothers and sisters, our cousins, our nieces, and our nephews to wake up. Young people stay woke. They need to wake up. There is no life as a person of color in this country, or even a white kid who does not have a college degree. They got to get up and get to college. The young people are joking their lives up. When you listen to a lot of young people, I'm listening, like I told you, this server, she was kind of like my favorite person, right? In the place where I go to. And I kid you not. I'm sitting there and I said, well, how old is your boyfriend? Well, he's 25. And I'm like, my God, did he try to get on a payment program with the courts to pay off those tickets before it escalated and got to that point? And she looked at me blankly. I didn't know we could do that. And I said, but how do we not think about that? You get on a payment plan for everything else. Why not think about that? So now he's incarcerated because because of outstanding speeding and parking tickets. Then there was she said, well, these things happen here. And I mean, people go, these things happen. There's this other girl who was here the other day, and she was 19, and she dropped out of college. I'm like, why? And she said, well, she just felt like college was not for her. And I'm like, don't start with me. I'm like, enough. Let me try to talk to you first. Right? Because it had come to, it gets to the point where you're like, what do you say to young people? What do you say to folks? And the thing about it is this kind of situation breeds contempt for others. Do you realize that? So when you're trying to minimize the damage done to them by maybe pointing them in a different way, showing them that, maybe you can turn this way, they become contemptuous of you. And their contempt of you is damaging because it can hurt you. Because you can get your feelings hurt by saying, I was only trying to help. Or worst case scenario, they try to rob you, to take away from you what you have worked hard to acquire. This is why I say don't judge a book by its cover, because you don't know what someone has gone through to obtain what they have. And so many people fall into this trap of, why won't I get up? What makes you not get up? Why won't you get to cracking? I have family members like that. I'm not we all do. There are people we know that we all do. There's some people who have been given all the opportunities. They had the access. All they had to do was to study. This is the dilemma that I am caught in, is watching young people throw their lives away over stupid, silly stuff. You become rebellious. You don't want to listen to your parents, right? Then you walk around with drugs. Why are you driving at the speed of light with drugs in the car and with other people in the car who have drugs on them? They do, because they smoke and they encourage you to smoke. Chances are they have something in their pocket somewhere, right? Why are you getting in a car with that? Why do you get behind the wheel of a car if you know that you've had 2 drinks, but you're still going to get behind the wheel of a car and kill someone else off? Do you see? That's belligerence. That's knowing better and refusing to do better. That's knowing that you can change the situation, but refusing. Yeah, I know this is going to be tough and hard, but I know, grateful that somebody stopped by long enough to tell you that it's time to get moving. There are people right now who are holding down with children and are in school, y'all. Do you understand? Working low-end, non-paying jobs and trying to fight the system, because the system is designed for us to fail. The system is not designed it's not designed for us to win. Let's be clear, right? You don't come out of the womb expecting that things are going to be, it's going to be a sunny day for the rest of your life, and you're going to breathe gold and silver, and it's going to be all fluffy, puffy clouds, and the cherubims and the seraphims and the angels are going to come floating. Life is not like that. Let's just be honest with it. I have come to accept that life is not like that. As my grandmother used to say, every day is not a Sunday. It certainly is not. And whilst there are opportunities that are given to others, for some of us, we have to fight like a beast to get what comes to us. For most of the population, this is why there's a college cheating scandal. You realize what it's about. It's just parents wanting their kids to get even further ahead than they already are. So yes, they have wealth and privilege, but they want their kids to have that added cachet of saying that they went to this exclusive school because it adds to their panache. It adds to their presentation that puts them in a higher category where they will have access to more stuff. Do you see what I mean? So in a sense, you're like, well, they're just a parent trying to get the best for their kid. In a sense, that's really what it comes down to. You see where I'm coming from? Whereas the rest of us are saying, well, it's all wealth and privilege. You already have it already. Yeah, but they're trying to push them even further. Just like you and I, with what we have access to, we keep pushing our kids further. We keep trying to shove them in the right direction, push them so they become better and better, have better opportunities, have access to better networking, have access to better access. Just have access, period, people. We need to talk to these young people. So many young people have fallen through the cracks. And don't get me wrong, honestly, they don't want to listen. Because like this young lady I'm telling you about, she wasn't listening to her parents when she was 16 and they were telling her to study. She wasn't listening to her parents when she was sneaking out to go be with some guy, was she? Right? She wasn't listening to her parents who told her that the way forward is to go to college. She wasn't listening to them. She chose instead to listen to her own rhythm, her own beat in her head that was telling her, do what you want when you want it. So she's driving down the street, smoking marijuana because everyone else in the car was doing it, and ended up in jail. By the time she came out, her life was over. She still thought she could do it. Then she found herself pregnant and realized that this is a whole different ball game. What am I going to do? You could have been in college. When young people are in college, and some of them make it to college, and then they drop out of college because they say college is not for me. No, you need to take your Holy Ghost rumpus and get back into college. What do you mean college is not for you? Where are you going to live? And some parents are like, you're not coming back home here. That's tough love. They're like, you better go get going, right? Where are you going? What are you going to do? Are you going to come back? No, you're not. Not to my house. You better stay in college. Right? They get to college and they won't take advantage of the opportunities. Today's generation is waiting on that call from a mixtape. They're waiting on that call from a producer. They're waiting to be like Kim Kardashian, who, by the way, those people pay a lot of money. It's called pay to play. They paid a lot of money to get to where they are. They started out paying money to get there. They're not going to tell you because then it would seem unfair. They want it to seem like I was just discovered, because that's how we've been programmed and socialized to think. It really does not work like that. You got to pay to play. See all these girls with R. Kelly? It's the same things their parents were doing. Their parents were trying to get them further by putting them with someone whom they think could help their daughter get ahead. They knew there would be casualties. They knew that there would be a cost for it, and they were willing to overlook the cost if they could get their daughter, if it meant that their daughter could get ahead by being with someone who has already made it. They knew the guy was ripe with and festooned with having sex with underage young people. They knew that. But they were looking at the big picture, which is if she's with R. Kelly, then one day she's going to overcome it and she'll be famous and she can get on with her life and put that in the past behind her. People are trying to push their children further to get them over the hump because it is highly competitive. You don't believe me? Think about this. My daughter is in law school. She's about to, right? And there are tons of people who are in law school. But there are certain things that are still evident. The people who already have access and privilege are already 10 steps ahead because their parents are the judges, right? Their parents are the attorneys and their parents are the high court judges. And their parents know other parents who are high court judges. So it's a guarantee that they're going to succeed. But what about the woman who is a single mother, who has 2 children, but is still trying to go through law school, who has to make provisions and make specialized appearances with her professors to facilitate that she has to go pick up one kid while class is in session because she has no one else to pick up the kid, and to come back and join class before it's over, then leave again as soon as class is over to go get the other kid and drop them off. What about her? Well, she's going to graduate. But you know what she did? She had recognized that the only way she was going to get over this hump and to push herself further and further so she could stay ahead of it was by sacrificing what she's going through now. So here she's, it cost my daughter everything to go to law school. Forget about the financial cost, the loans. That has nothing to do with it. We're talking about the emotional cost. We're talking about what it cost her. But you know what she says? This morning we're driving. You know what she says? She says, you know what? She says she took a gap year between college and law school. In that 1 year, she says she learned so much, right? Because there were people on the job where she was who never even finished high school, never finished college, right? There was one person there who had graduated law school and had one mess up, just something like she didn't finish the bar, she didn't pass all the exams on the bar, and the woman gave up. In giving up, she gained almost 200 pounds, lost herself in it, gave up on life, and ended up working a $10 an hour job. My daughter said it was as if God placed those people around her. She got so all these years when I was firing her up, all these years she was firing up herself. She got fired up. She applied again. She got in. Boom. She's like, whatever it takes, I'm gonna go through it. It cost her everything. I remember one day she called me and she says, Mom, I know I'm supposed to do this, and I really just want you to remind me why I am to do this. Just tell me what you tell me all the time. So this is the story. So I said, you're going to grow up, you're going to get married 10 years from now, and you're going to find yourself 38, and you're working this dead-end job that you can't get promoted, and you have 2 children and a mortgage and a husband, and you can't get any more money, and you're going to shoot yourself in the foot because you could have gone to law school and your life would be better. And you're going to sit there saying, I woulda, I wish I coulda, and you're not going to be able to do it. And she said, that's it. Thank you. I finished the application, boom, sent it off, and the rest is history, right? We have to get up. Folks, it's 2019. 1619 was 400 years ago. Our young people are wasting our energy and resources. A generation ago, fought, were hosed down, beaten by dogs, shoved into prison, beaten, stamped on, so they could get the opportunity. There are more opportunities now to go to college than ever before. There are more opportunities now than there were 50 years ago. I was in Arkansas speaking at a conference and met a man who is an African-American man from Arkansas, who told me that in the 1950s, when he wanted to get a master's degree, it was not allowed for him to get a master's degree. And sitting beside me was the first Black woman who had gone to medical school in Arkansas. So he was on one side, she was on the other side. And she said when she got accepted into medical school, they had to make an exception for her to be there. She's a historical figure in Arkansas. Do you understand what I'm saying? And this man over here was telling me he had to come to Wayne State University in Detroit in order to go and get a master's degree in 1958. When I tell you that our young people now have more opportunities than ever before, believe me, that generation ago fought for them. And yet here they are smoking, doping their lives out. Everybody's doing it, Black and white alike. They're smoking, doping, and drinking away their lives, ruining their bodies so that by the time they hit adulthood, they're not even going to have the body, the physical strength to withstand the diseases that afflict all of us, right? And they won't get up and go to college. They have more access now. They have more opportunities now, and they won't get up and go to college. Why? Because they're belligerent, they're rebellious, and they don't. The most important thing is, guess what? They lack drive and ambition. You see, all of you, can I just be honest with you all? Let me tell you how you make me feel. When I'm scrolling through my Facebook feed or my Instagram feed or Periscope or Twitter, and I see you all trying to do something, you have a job, but you're doing something. You're married or you're not married, but you're pushing and you're pushing and you're pushing to do something. You motivate me. Because I ask myself, what am I doing? Every day I ask myself, what are you doing for your next steps? Every day. That's a question I ask myself. What am I doing for my next steps? Every day I ask myself, and the day that I can't answer that, I have a miserable day. But when I look at you all, you're all pushing to do something with what you have. Can I just be honest with you? There is a story in the Bible about the 10 talents. That story is real. You have to look at what's in your hand. You can't just look at what's in your hand. History is one thing, but look at what's in your hand. You have to identify what's your big picture for yourself. Even at 15 and 16, it's something we have to teach our children to learn to do real early. What are your goals for yourself? It's one thing for me. I tell my children, it's one thing for me to want the best for you. What do you want for yourself? Right? Do you see what I'm saying? Do you want this? How badly do you want it? Because it's going to cost you something. Because it's not fluffy. And I wish, as your mom, when I was their mom and they were babies, I used to sing lullabies to try to make it a better day. Maybe they believed in the lullabies too much because they grew up thinking that it was all going to be easy. It's my fault. But I've been saying it for years. It's not going to be easy. Going after your dreams and your goal is not going to be easy. But die trying. If you're going to die trying. You better give up at the point of death. You should go into the grave screaming, I'm still trying to get it done. It should never be, oh my God, you will never find me on a day when, that's one thing I tell myself. I'm never going to be the person dying and put my hands and say, well, I have done it all. Heck no. I'm still going to be trying to get it done. I have goals for myself. I'm still fighting to get there. And that's how we all need to be. It doesn't matter how you start. What matters is how you finish. I don't care if you came out of a hut. I don't care if you live in the Rockies. I don't care if you live in a cave. I don't care where you come from. What matters is how you finish. The only reason why you listen to me is because you think there's some value to me, right? When you listen to my story, you realize that I had an inauspicious start. I shouldn't have made it. But the fact that you value something in me speaks something about what we're trying to do here, right? It helps you as much as it helps me. I got to motivate myself too. It's not easy. I'm 52, right? I can't begin to tell you the challenges I have or continue to have based on my goals. You can tell my goals are big because I'm still striving towards them. The system and everything is plotted, though it's jinxed and it's stacked. Do I look like I'm giving up? Do I look like I'm about to roll over and let it roll over me? Unlike younger people who think that, well, maybe they have time, there is no such thing. There are some things that when they're gone, they're gone. Opportunity is one of them. You know what else? Your freedom. So you end up with a record that cannot be expunged, which means there's certain things you can't do, certain professions you can't enter in, right? Certain fields you can't do. Nowadays, it used to be that people could come out of jail and go to college. You know nowadays some people come out of jail and can't go to college? I found that out. It used to be that in Michigan especially, people could study while they're in jail towards getting a degree. They cut that out. They're like, you go to prison to be rehabilitated. We're not paying for you to study. If you wanted to study, you should have never come to jail. I kid you not when you hear the stories that people tell you. And yes, there are disadvantages. Some people come from backgrounds. I know that. I've listened to people who have been in jail and I hear their stories. People come from backgrounds that are so heavily disadvantaged. The deck is automatically stacked against them. I get it. But you know what I found? Some of those people, when they come out, they're the ones striving to change the system. And you're like, whoa, they're working hard to change the narrative about their lives. What's the narrative? It's like this young lady. I'm at a loss because she's at a tender place. She could go either way. All I want to do is to make sure she lands in a good place for her and that unborn child whom she chose to bring into this world, knowing that her future was compromised because she's created a situation for herself. In other words, and it's in the same way you hear about men who have multiple children, and you ask yourself the question, how did that happen to you? Everybody has sex. How did that happen? How did you allow it to happen? It's something I am now concerned I'm going to change in Michigan, is the fact that if you don't pay child support, it's a felony, automatically carries like a 4-year felony. That is putting a lot of people behind bars. Do you see what I'm saying? So now people come out of jail and they can't do anything because they have a record. It's a felony. It doesn't go away. It doesn't get expunged. It doesn't disappear. So now they can't rent an apartment. They can't get a good job that pays a living wage. And yes, I say, well, what were you doing that you were, when you were just having multiple children, you have to take care of your children, right? You have to take care of that. So minimize that as much as you can. Yeah, you want to have fun, but what is the cost? That's the thing with us here in America. We are so free. We want to have fun, but we don't think about the cost of our freedom. What does it cost you? So you go to the bar tonight. It's Friday night coming, and everybody's going to head up and turn up. And you don't think about what does it cost to do that. And because they don't think about what it costs, there is a cost. They get pulled over, inebriated or drunk, invariably with drugs in their system or drugs on them, and you lose your freedom. You're speeding. This is a question I asked when I walked away from that young lady. I walked into my car and I'm like, why do you speed? Then you get a ticket. You don't pay the ticket because you can't afford to pay the ticket. The next time you're still going to speed? Why? So they pull you over and find out you have an unpaid ticket. So one adds to the other. I'm like, no, call the system. Take care of it real quick. Do you see what I'm saying? What do? You got to get up. Sometimes you have no choice. Because what I have found is that one thing leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. When you listen to people who have committed suicide, and you start asking the stories about what happened to them, listen carefully. There are some people for whom they made a mistake and can't live with the choices and the consequences of that mistake. So suicide 5, 6, 7 years later. Young people, right, who refused to go to college, wouldn't listen to their parents, wouldn't listen to the teachers, wouldn't listen to anybody because they know everything, pay the price, end up with jobs that can't support them. Then they look at their peers doing way better than they do. They develop issues, personality issues, issues with their self-esteem. Yeah. Depression happens, sinks in. They go into anxiety, they go into depression, and it becomes a sliding scale. And it happens. Lord, I'm sorry to be the messenger, but it is, say it, it is what it is. You're shaking your head. So what do I want you to do? I'm holding you accountable to you, just like I hold myself accountable to me. And you hold me accountable to me. I'm holding you accountable to your dream, to your vision, to be the best parent you can be, to be the best mother, the best father. Even if you had to do it alone, I did it by myself. People, hear me. It was the most painful thing I ever walked through. I had to do it by myself. But hold yourself accountable to your dream while working full time, while trying to fulfill my dream. You'll be blessed. I promise you. You will be blessed. I promise you. Just hold on. And if you are one of those persons who didn't give yourself a chance when you were young, and you did not give yourself a chance to explore yourself, to explore all that's in your intellect, the wellspring of your intellect, your intelligence, your natural skills, because you thought of pursuing something else and you ignored all the signs, and you find yourself, here you are 10, 20 years later, and 10, 20 years later, you can't make it. You can't do anything. Can I just talk to you for a second? Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for not listening to those around you. Go back and tell them thank you for seeing something in me that I didn't see myself. If they're still here, right? Write an email, find them, send them an email. They're probably on Facebook. Inbox them. Tell them thank you. And start the process of healing yourself. Forgive yourself. And then start doing something about it. It's never too late. You can go to an online school. FAFSA is available. You live in the United States, you're a US national, a US citizen, FAFSA is available. FAFSA.gov. Apply for a loan to go to college. Start studying. And if you came out of the system and you were in prison and now it's becoming even more difficult, inbox me. There's an organization called Clean Slate. There's an organization called Nation Outside. There are plenty of agencies that will help you find your place and help you find shelter. They'll help you find resources. They'll help you get some of that record expunged if you've had multiple incidents. But there is help available. The one thing I don't want you to do is to sit back all by yourself and feel bad about yourself and stay there. It's one thing to feel bad. It's drawing you out, right? It's bringing your attention to something that you must fix, right? But it's an entirely different thing when you sit in it. Don't wallow in it. Reach out. Ask a question. Don't be ashamed. Don't feel like, well, I don't want people to know this about me, and that pride gets in the way. Baby, I had to learn to throw my pride away. When I needed help, I had to ask for help. I had to say, where does this go? Well, how does this? How does this happen? I had to ask for help. There were days in my life when $50 made a big deal. There were days when $5 was the difference to getting me going from point A to point B. But look what you can do. Your future is great and bright. Do you believe that? You have to believe that. You have to believe it. So dry your tears and let's start the business of putting you back together. Yes, you may have been raped when you were a kid and you had a child and they abandoned you and your family left you and they put you out of the church. They put you out and cut you off. That's okay. There's help available. God is bigger than that church. God is bigger than the people who made that decision. God is bigger than the people who... Can I tell you how many times they fired me and promoted me? Can I tell you how many times I got fired? Big deal. I got fired because it was always we were losing a position or you were the person who could take it most, right? And I had to go home to 2 people whom I was totally responsible for. I've been there. I've been there. Maybe that's why my mother, I miss my mother so much because I used to offload. Like, what on earth is this? Where did this come from? Things happen. Life, it's called life. It's life. It happens. Now let's face it. The same bad things that happen in life, good things can turn around. Come on with me. We can turn this around. Just come. Just ask. Inbox me. Feel free to reach out to me. My number, 313-259-2800. Call me. I'll talk to you. Call me. Just answer when I answer. Because they'll put you on to me. So answer when I answer. I will talk to you. There's help available. Right? Thank you so much for listening. Go and encourage someone. Tell some young person. If they don't make the SAT today, it's coming again in May. It's coming again in June. They can do it. They can do it. They got to get into college. And if you know somebody who is a little bit beyond that, like that young lady who I met at the diner, tell her there's help available. How can I help you, baby? Have you called this number? They can help you. They'll start you. Reach out and just pipe it down a little. Get off the high horse that I should know this and I should. No. If you really knew what you should have known when you were in 15 and 16, it would have been avoided. But we're here now. Let's deal with it now. Let's start right here where we are. Come, call me, right? Inbox me. Let me know. I do check my inbox. Let me know. Send me an email. You can find me on the web, exodusfoundation01@gmail.com, info@harrietkammack.com. You can find me. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, inbox me, DM me, whatever. But one thing we don't do, don't just sit there. Okay? Thank you so much, everybody. Go to the exodusfoundation.com. Be a blessing to us, right? Make a donation to what we do. And I'll see you next time. Thanks so much, everybody. Be blessed. Thank you so much. Hey, Facebook. What do I say to you all the time? You bless me. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining me. And thank you so much for being a part of this. There are so many people out there today who need help. There are so many young people. It's coming, and we've all made mistakes. We've all done things we shouldn't have. It brings tears to my eyes, honestly, when I see how broken people are. It makes you humble when you realize that, but for the grace of God, go I. And you're nodding your heads like you feel me. You understand. When you see how people made choices that they have no idea the ramifications of those choices years later. And yet here they are, right? They made those choices without thinking of the context and thinking of the big picture. Made choices about your life. This is why I tell my children at 16, you can't make a choice about your life because you don't know what you will be 10 years when you're 26, 20 years when you're 36. You don't know. So you can't make that choice. And so many of us have been there and have done that. I tell you the honest truth. When I was 16, my mother put me out in favor of her boyfriend. And I had to go live with an aunt while I was in college. So I dropped out of college. I was in college and I dropped out because I had to support myself, right? That's my story. And that's something that if you were waiting on her to ever acknowledge it, she told me once she didn't remember that. I don't know how she didn't, but was that material? It was only story to add to my glory, right? I didn't see it that way at the time. I was busy trying to survive, so I had to keep myself. I said, well, here comes this challenge. There are some things we're not going to do. We're not going to add to this by getting pregnant as a teenager. So that didn't happen at 16. It didn't happen at 17. It didn't happen until I was married. I stayed because I felt that I owed it to myself. I wanted to see how this would play out. And I wanted to make sure that I didn't hurt myself. Since everybody else was going to do it, I was not going to hurt me. I'm one of them. I was one of them. So I know what it is like. And there were people around me. One of my mentors was my first boss, June Wright. And I never told her thanks. And I regret that to this day. I wish I could find her. I've looked for her everywhere just to see if I could reach back and say thank you. This is why today, the women and men who play a role in my development, in my professional development, and in my life, I say thank you. Give them a shout out. Give them their story. There's a guy on Instagram who was one of the first persons who signed me up as a speaker on Great Black Speakers. I reached back. This was years ago. I reached back and told him, thank you. It was an opportunity, right? He saw something. I pray for him as he's lifted up, right? I even went back to the pastor of my church, the man who ordained me, the bishop who ordained me, Bishop Ellis. I went back to him and I told him, thank you for seeing the God in me and raised me up and allowed me to participate in his church and his facilities. Yes, reach back and say thank you. It's about you, not about them, right? I went, some of the people who poured into me, I say thank you. Tell them thank you for being there for me and thank you for believing in me. And you, more importantly, you pour into me. So I say to you, thank you for being there and thank you for listening. So we've all been there. Help us to help one another, right? It's all about that, isn't it? Yeah, it is about that. I got to go. I got stuff to do, right? We got to keep the string going. So go to the exodusfoundation.com. Right on the homepage, there is a contribute button. Be a giver to us. And we thank you so much for being a part of my broadcast today. Thank you so much, everybody. Be blessed. Bye.